He had once been a merciless demon king, utterly determined to wipe out all of humanity. Yet a human infant eventually softens his heart, leading him to adopt the child and choose to live as an ordinary failure in the human world. The tale begins in a secluded village on the continent, where young Alicia resides with her father. She is brimming with excitement and curiosity about everything around her. When she notices that the world map has faded out everything except Edthea, she asks her father why, and he decides to unload the history of their world onto her. The continent of Edthea is inhabited by 5 humanoid species: regular humans, ogres, aquatic beings known as Slatin, a barbaric group called Benti, and elves with dog-like noses known as Haydn. Among these 5 races, the Haydn are renowned for their expertise in forging and smithing, and only their royal bloodline possesses the secret to turning a rare mineral called aeronite into weapons. The 5 species coexist mostly peacefully, but their world is confined to the continent of Edea because everything beyond it is an uncharted region filled with magical beasts and their rulers who prevent humans from passing. He explains that the 4 demon lords guarding each direction are unbelievably powerful and have annihilated every expedition team ever sent into their lands. Alicia is saddened to hear that they must remain in Edea forever. But her father tells her that, according to legend, one day a hero among heroes will wield a secret weapon gifted by the king of Haydn to slay the 4 demon lords and open the world for humankind. He adds that the demon lords possess strength capable of smashing mountains, and the only means humans have to oppose them is by using the special weapons created solely by the Haydn king. Alicia becomes thrilled hearing this and declares she will become a hero herself, obtain the special weapons, defeat the demon lord, and make the world far broader. Many years later, Alicia stays true to her word, and she is now one of the 13 heroes chosen by the king of Haydn. She travels in a carriage with 6 other heroes, thinking the time has finally come to fulfill her promise to her father. The men inside the carriage begin chatting about how rare it is to see so many powerful individuals gathered together, and one of them comments that encountering a female hero is even more uncommon. He asks Alicia where she comes from, but she gives him no reply. At that moment, another hero named Stefan steps in, telling everyone to prepare because they are about to enter enemy land. Although the others find Stefan irritating for acting like their leader, they cannot argue since he is the strongest among them. Stefan casually winks at Alicia, having stepped in only to rescue her from the awkward small talk, but she isn't interested in him either. Suddenly, the carriage comes to a harsh stop, and the driver informs them the road ahead is too dangerous for travel. Stefan replies that he anticipated this and they will need to continue on foot. Out of nowhere, a magic beast appears and snatches the driver away, forcing everyone into action. More magic beasts arrive, grabbing the second driver and starting to feast on the horses. The heroes exit their carriage, and Stefan orders them to take formation so they can advance toward the summit and confront the demon lord without suffering casualties. The heroes use their special weapons and the abilities granted by them to fend off the magic beasts. Meanwhile, the Lord of the South, Clevitus, observes them from a distance. The heroes continue pushing through the monsters one by one and eventually proceed toward Luna Mountain, the home of Demon King Clev. They spot the Demon King atop the mountain, and he suddenly travels to them like a bolt of lightning. The heroes are stunned to see the majestic creature, who emits a strange golden aura. They immediately realize that Clev's power is immense, but Stefan takes the chance to farm some aura and proclaims that the 13 heroes will defeat him using the weapons from the Haydn Kingdom. He orders everyone to charge forward, but he is abruptly struck by something so fast that no one even reacts. Stefan crashes into a rock and is left mangled, while the demon lord lets Stefan's blood drip from his tail. The heroes panic at the sight, and one man rushes in, seeking revenge. Alicia tries to stop him because her instincts scream that something is wrong, but no one bothers listening to a woman. The hammer wielder leaps toward Clev, only to be hit by his tail, which instantly rips off his head. The other heroes begin to despair and consider fleeing, but they have no idea that Clev can manipulate shadows. He sends his tails through the heroes' shadows, stabbing them from behind. Alicia is the only one who notices and immediately warns everyone, telling them to keep jumping to distance themselves from their shadows. But no one is quick enough to follow her instructions. While the others are being decimated, Alicia evades Clev's attacks and charges straight toward him. Clev is impressed by her awareness, though he sees the rest as utterly hopeless. They attempt to challenge the demon lord directly, only to be instantly killed by his tails, and Clev becomes curious why they are even here. Throughout his long life, humans have been nothing more than insects to him, and the last time he saw them was 1,000 years ago. He wonders how and why such frail beings have appeared here while he continues slaughtering them until Alicia is the only survivor. She dodges all of the demon lord's attacks and launches herself at him, striking with full force, only managing to scratch his horn. Clev becomes annoyed and unleashes a powerful gust of wind that slices Alicia apart along with her dreams. However, the demon lord is not satisfied and decides to visit the humans to learn why they are invading his territory. He travels to Hydrat, the capital of the Hidden Kingdom, where blacksmiths toil endlessly to forge weapons. As soon as Clev lands on a watchtower, everyone panics and flees for safety. He recalls the heroes mentioning that the king of Hyen supplied them with special weapons, so he decides he ought to speak with the man as a fellow king. Meanwhile, the city's soldiers rush in to confront him, though he pays them no mind. He simply thinks he will kill anyone blocking his path to the king, since that is exactly what the heroes did when entering his domain. The soldiers fire at him, but they are so insignificant that Clev ignores them altogether and begins sprinting across rooftops toward the royal palace. The royal guards prepare to confront him and bring out their most powerful weapons, but their strikes are far too slow and weak to affect him. He effortlessly tears down the castle walls, and a messenger runs to inform the king of what is happening. Based on the tremors and thunderous noise, the king already guessed the heroes had failed and the demon lord had arrived. He says the weapons he crafted for them may not have been strong enough, and he failed to fulfill the legend in his lifetime. His soldiers urge him to escape, but he refuses, knowing there is no fleeing from the demon lord. He chooses to use his remaining time sealing the forge beneath the palace, because if it is destroyed, their people will lose their only means of ever resisting the magic beasts. Meanwhile, the royal guards bring out special weapons made from the same red metal, arcanite, as the heroes' weapons. And Clev realizes this is the only material that poses any true danger to him. He recalls how Alicia's attack left a scratch on his horn, and he starts considering that even insects can pose a threat if they have the right weapons. He instantly crushes the weapons and then chooses to destroy the forge as well because he refuses to let humans grow any more powerful. Back at the palace, the king opens the forge door. But just as he is about to step inside, the rumbling becomes louder and draws nearer. The king shuts the door, deciding to stay outside instead. At that moment, the roof is ripped open by Clev, who tells the king he has been looking for him. The king is stunned that he can speak the human language and says that a beast should not be using their tongue. Clev warns him to watch his words because if he dislikes them, he won't only destroy the kingdom but the entire human race. He demands the king explain what kind of people the humanoids living in Edia are and why they keep entering his domain despite him stopping them every single time. The king chooses to face death like a hero or a simple farmer and tells the demon lord that a beast like him will never understand his motives. Clev casually knocks his head aside with his tail and decides he will wipe out all 5 humanoid races. As he walks away, already planning to raise an army, he hears the sound of a crying infant. He intends to ignore it, but the woman crushed under the rubble while shielding the baby begs him to stop. She asks him to save the child, and Clev is taken aback because no sane person would ever ask him to save anyone. He bluntly tells her he plans to eradicate humanity and that she should blame being born human for her death. The woman answers that children cannot choose the circumstances of their birth and that the baby should not die just because adults tried to harm him. Her words make Clev turn around, and he asks her to prove the child deserves to be saved. She says she cannot, as she is about to die. But once the child grows up, he will prove his worth on his own. She dies after saying that, and Clev decides to take the boy with him. After all, he still doubts her reasoning, but to him, a human life is short, and this is a chance to observe one closely. Back at Luna Mountain, the magic beasts attempt to eat the infant, but Clev frightens them off. He is already irritated by the baby's non-stop crying and uses a bit of his power to replenish the child's strength, though he knows it won't be enough. He has no idea how humans work and tosses the baby into a pile of dung-eating bugs when he soils himself. The baby cries even louder, and Clev feels like taking him here was the worst decision he has ever made. Still, as the king of magic beasts, he cannot reverse his choices just because they inconvenience him. He plans to watch over the child and then determine whether humanoids deserve to live. And for the baby to grow properly, the most essential thing is a mother. Soon after, Alicia wakes from a nightmare of her father being slain by a terrifying knight, and she isn't even certain where she currently is. The moment she hears Clev's voice, she spins around and tries to draw her sword, but he tells her he tossed both the sword and her companions into the valley. He says she was the only useful one among them, so he restored her body using his dark mana. Alicia cannot grasp what he means. Suddenly, she notices that her severed leg is attached again, and she realizes she died and is now just a zombie animated by the Demon King's power. She is completely confused, but then Clev orders her to get to work and show him her mommy milkers. Alicia panics, shocked that even the Demon Lord is a gooner, but he tells her to stop delaying because the baby is hungry. When she refuses, Clev uses his power to take control of her body and forces her to undress, only to discover she cannot produce milk because she is a virgin. Alicia snaps at Clev for not even knowing that, but he calls her useless instead. Humiliated, she demands he kill her rather than degrade her like this. But Clev pins her down, telling her that as long as his power runs through her body, she cannot die. The baby suddenly cries again, and Clev says even with his abilities, he cannot stop the child's hunger. Alicia asks why on earth he even has a human baby with him, and he tells her he wants to watch the child grow and judge humanity based on him. He says Alicia will provide all the information he needs on raising a kid. His first question is how to feed the baby. Alicia cannot disobey his command and explains that he needs to find a wet nurse to nurse the child, and most people hire one with money. Clev doesn't understand money, so Alicia tells him he can hire someone using the aaronites scattered around the mountain because it is extremely rare in human lands. Clev decides he will hire a wet nurse right away. But Alicia stops him, asking if he is stupid. She tells him people will panic the moment they see him, so he can forget about hiring anyone. She asks him to give the baby to her since she can find a wet nurse for him. But in truth, she intends to rescue the child from the Demon King. Still, Clev refuses to let the baby out of his sight. To solve the issue of his appearance, he uses his immense mana and transforms into a human-like figure. Alicia freaks out when she sees this, and Clev tells her he copied the form of the human who had protected the child, using his power to manipulate shadows. She tells him to deal with his tails as well, so Clev sends them into his shadow, but he does not hide his horn. He then names the child Luna after the mountain he calls home and orders Alicia to lead him to a wet nurse. On the way, they stop by the campsite where Alicia and the other heroes stayed because a river is nearby. He tells Alicia to wash Luna carefully and keeps lecturing her about every detail. She is irritated but also stunned that even a demon lord can have OCD. When she finishes washing the baby, Clev tells Alicia to wash herself because she is covered in blood and grime, which is bad for the child. He also hands her the cloth Luna had been wrapped in. When Alicia washes the stains off it, she finds the crest of the Haydn royal family. She panics when she realizes Luna is actually from the Haydn royal bloodline, though she has no idea how Clev got him. She immediately confronts him, demanding how he could kidnap a royal family member. But Clev tells her that Luna was entrusted to him. Alicia doesn't believe him, yet Clev explains how an injured woman asked him to take the baby after he destroyed the royal palace and killed everyone inside. Alicia is horrified when she hears this and says that everyone will be searching for the child because only the Haydn royal family knows the secrets of turning Aaronite into weapons. However, she quickly realizes that she revealed too much, because after learning the child's true heritage, Clev decides to turn him into the puppet king of Haydn and rule the kingdom from behind the scenes. Alicia understands she has made a mistake. But she is convinced that Clev has some kind of fixation on Luna. She believes that if anyone harms Luna, Clev might lose control and wipe out humanity, and she is determined to stop that at any cost, as it is her final duty as the hero. The two soon arrive in human territory and are immediately ambushed by bandits. Alicia tries to warn Clev, but it is already too late, and he gets smacked hard by one of them. Alicia realizes the bandits are doomed now. But then, suddenly, Clev collapses and starts bleeding heavily. Alicia can't believe what she is seeing and begins screaming. Another bandit then strikes the back of her head to knock her unconscious. After a while, the rumbling of the bandit's carriage wakes Alicia, and she is shocked to discover that she and Clev have been captured. She asks him how he can stay so calm in a situation like this. But Clev tells her that Luna is safe, even though he had been crying a lot until moments ago. Alicia crawls toward Clev, asking how he could be knocked out by just a single hit from a bandit. She asks whether he has become as weak as a normal human after taking this form, but Clev explains that isn't the case. He was simply too stunned by how fragile the human body is. So he collapsed and decided to play alone. Alicia asks why they don't escape now, and Clev responds that as long as he intends to make Luna the ruler of Haydn, he must conceal his true identity. He also wants to observe this side of humanity. He asks Alicia to explain the situation and why all these injured people are being transported like cargo, and she tells him they were attacked by filthy bandits and will likely be sold as slaves. Clev asks how strong the bandits are, and she answers that they are fairly strong by human standards but rely on dirty tricks, making them annoying opponents. She also tells Clev not to judge humanity based on bandits of all people, but he becomes even more curious. They eventually arrive at a deep mine where the bandits order their prisoners to get out. They separate the men from the women, and when one man tries to escape, a bandit sends him to the afterlife by throwing a dagger into his back. The bald bandit declares that they are the ravens and warns that anyone who attempts to flee or disobey will be killed. He then tells everyone to keep moving and calls Alicia to come with him because he has plans for her. Clev watches her being taken away, when a bratty blonde woman summons him into her cabin. She is unimpressed that he brought a child and calls another slave, Nell, who is even uglier than your own sister. The useless girl trips over nothing, dropping all the bedsheets she is carrying, and the blonde girl, Carmel, scolds her harshly. She then tells Nell that one of the new slaves has a child and that Nell is responsible for looking after children. The moment Nell sees Luna, her eyes brighten. Meanwhile, the bald bandit drags Alicia to the office of another bandit named Vrak, who is currently serving as the temporary leader. The bandits refuse to acknowledge him as their boss, and he threatens to unleash his pet dark beast if they don't obey. The men become terrified, since the creature is a troll that, for some reason, listens to Brock and communicates well with him. Brock then turns his attention to the bag of Aronite and Alicia, saying he heard she obtained it from Luna Mountain, the stronghold of the Dark Lord Clevitus. He knows about the 13 heroes who departed from Haydn to fight Clevitus, and he knows one of them was a woman. Alicia avoids eye contact, but Brock is certain she is the female hero because she remains unusually calm and has not yet wet herself in front of his pet troll. Brock then tells her that after the heroes failed, Clevitus attacked Haydn's royal capital and destroyed the castle. He says this was the best news their bandit crew had ever received and unsheathes a knife with a red edge. Alicia is stunned, because only special weapons forged from Argonite have red edges, and only Haydn royals can create them. Brock explains that he has heard about the legendary weapons with special abilities that empower their wielders. But the one he owns is not genuine. Alicia is surprised, and he tells her he doesn't just deal in slaves but also sells fake magical weapons, and most people are too foolish to know the difference. Brock then begins lecturing her about supply and demand, explaining that if rumors of the Haydn royal family's death are true, it means these magical weapons can no longer be produced, which dramatically increases the value of the existing ones. The most valuable would be the ones carried by the heroes. But since the heroes died deep in uncharted lands, they couldn't retrieve them. Now that they have a living hero, Brock believes they can locate the weapons and sell them at a high price. He demands Alicia tell him where the weapons are, but she refuses, and he decides to let her stay silent for now because tomorrow he will take her to Luna Mountain to find the weapons. Some bandits say they can use her to search for their other objective, but Brock insists she is too valuable to risk, and the other slaves are enough for that. He then tells the bandits they may have fun with Alicia if they wish, and they begin considering calling him their leader after all. Meanwhile, Clev is working in the restaurant run by the blonde Carmel. Her only customers are the bandits, whom she serves in more ways than one. Nell's duty is to breastfeed Luna because the range of her milkers is greater than her dignity. The bandits continually order her around and kick her for being slow, and the timid Nell accepts it all without complaint. Clev works as a waiter, delivering food to whomever calls him, and Carmel thinks it would be a waste to sell such a capable worker. But she is also disturbed by him because of the strange intensity he gives off. Just then, someone trips Nell while she is carrying rum bottles, causing them to crash and shatter. He accuses her of being clumsy, drags her outside with his friend, and says she needs to be punished again. Clev observes calmly as some bandits laugh at the weirdos who dragged Nell outside. The twisted perverts spank Nell until she is crying and warn her never to spill drinks again. She wipes her tears because she needs to hurry and care for the baby. Meanwhile, the two creeps continue mocking her for being so stupid when they suddenly start feeling dizzy. Moments later, they cough blood, collapse dead, and are absorbed by Clev's shadows. Soon after, Nell returns, and KF tells her he wants to speak with her. As she breastfeeds Luna, KF asks Nell to explain how she is connected to the bandits. She begins by telling him she was born into the bandit crew and never knew anything about her father. She did have a mother, but the bandits frequently abused and punished her. Nell couldn't make sense of anything because she had been born mute. Yet when she reached the age of 12, her mother vanished. Nell had no idea whether her mother had died or escaped. Then one day, a bandit approached her and hit her for no reason. Only then did she understand that her mother had been shielding her. They started treating her like livestock. But when Carmen opened her restaurant and brothel, conditions became slightly more tolerable. She taught Nell how to deal with men so they would finish quickly and leave her alone. And even though it wasn't much, it still helped her. Nell explains that now she produces a lot of milk to feed infants. And Clev remembers that only women who have given birth can produce milk. He asks her where her baby is, and Nell becomes sad, revealing that the child was born dead. She says she blamed herself and even wished for death so she could meet her baby on the other side. But when she awoke, she found an unfamiliar infant drinking her milk in order to survive. The sight warmed her heart, and she chose to live a little longer. She tells Clev that afterward she had 2 more stillborn children, but she remained here because there were always other children who needed her. She says she only wants these kids to be happy since she never got to see her own, and Clev tells her he has heard enough. He thanks her for sharing her story and then asks her to go with him. Nell is puzzled by what he means, and Clev asks her to become Luna's wet nurse. He says he doesn't trust humans, but he believes he can trust her and, more importantly, Luna appears to like her. He again asks whether she will come with him or stay here and continue being a slave to the disgusting bandits. Nell sincerely thanks him for the offer but says he cannot help her because he himself is a slave, and she will eventually need to nurse more babies. Meanwhile, Alicia is being escorted to a room by 2 bandits who tell her to move quickly. They warn her not to even consider jumping off the bridge, since she would crash into the walls and die before hitting the water. Right then, she sees a man with a rope tied around him preparing to jump into the lake, and the bandits ridicule him for being unbelievably foolish. Alicia becomes curious about this, and fortunately the bandits enjoy talking. They tell her she must have heard the tales of the Hero Cord War, and suddenly everything becomes clear to her. She knows that Hero Cordor visited an Arcanite mine before his death and lost his weapon inside. Just then, the man at the bottom grabs a hook and leaps into the lake, demanding the bandits keep their promise to free him and his wife if he succeeds in retrieving the weapon. Alicia shouts at him to stop, insisting he won't find the weapon and, more importantly, that there are dark beasts in the water. But her warning comes too late, as monstrous fish devour the poor man right in front of his wife. The bandits laugh at him, and Alicia realizes they never intended to free him even if he had succeeded. They tell her that nothing she says matters because a whole crowd of bandits is eager to have fun with her tonight. Starting with a deranged knife fanatic, he leaps onto the bridge, declaring that he will rip her clothes off here in front of everyone. And Alicia chooses to make good use of the immortality curse Clev placed on her. She dislocates her joints to slip out of her handcuffs and then crushes the freak's neck with them. She uses his knife to sever the bridge's rope, causing both of them to plummet to their deaths. And she just hopes Clev wasn't lying about her being immortal. The bandits panic when they see Alicia's crushed body at the bottom of the mine, knowing Brock will make an example of them if he learns that the source of his potential wealth died under their watch. They decide to go down first to check whether there is any chance the girl is still alive. At the same time, Alicia regains her senses. She looks around and sees blood splattered everywhere, but nothing more. She realizes she cannot move her body and feels no sensation below her neck. She isn't even relieved to still be alive, because she would have preferred death over being trapped in a useless body. She tries to force her body to respond before the bandits get there, and suddenly her blood begins rising into the air, forming a miniature Clev who tells her she has lost too much blood to do anything. Alicia is stunned to see him and asks why on earth he looks like a tiny puppy. Clev explains that his size and appearance depend on the amount of magical power, and his current form reflects how much magic he placed inside her body to keep her alive. He says that if she loses all this energy, she will die. But as long as he considers her valuable, he will keep channeling magic into her so she can survive. Alicia asks why he isn't taking some magic to restore his own body and wonders if he has decided she is worthless. However, Clev replies that he wants to ask her a question first. He tells Alicia he has found the perfect wet nurse for Luna and explains about Nell. Even though he is a demon lord who despises humanity, Clev feels Nell is treated horribly and would eagerly accept the chance to work for him. He is confused about why she refused his offer without thinking it through and asks Alicia to give him insight as a human. Alicia tells him Nell probably rejected him because she sees him as a child and a slave with no real authority. The bandits never let anyone leave once they capture them, and Nell believes she will never escape. Clev now understands her reasoning and asks Alicia what he should do. She immediately says the simplest way to solve his problem is to crush the bandits, because once Nell sees no one will chase after her, she will accept the proposal. She urges Clev to hurry, saying he should have no difficulty since he is ridiculously overpowered. However, Clev refuses to act so violently because he doesn't want to reveal that he has left the mountain. He wants to keep his identity hidden but still wants the bandits eliminated. So he suddenly comes up with an idea and orders Alicia to defeat them for him. Alicia is stunned by this, but Clev thinks that since she is the hero, no one will question her destroying a bandit group or two. Alicia tries to explain that things don't work that way, but Clev ignores her and forces all the blood back into her throat along with extra magic. Alicia screams in agony as the magic repairs her body. Soon the bandits arrive. They are shocked to see Alicia standing upright, but even more shocked by her strange dance movements. After performing a routine that could have earned her an Olympic gold medal in breakdancing, Alicia lets out a fierce scream, terrifying the bandits. While she is still trying to endure the pain of her bones reconnecting, the bandits begin perceiving her as some sort of monster. Even though they are scared out of their minds, they decide to fight and capture Alicia because they only need to keep her alive until they learn where the 13 weapons are. Their leaders order the rest of the bandits to cut off Alicia's arms if necessary, because they must catch her at any cost. One overly eager bandit charges at her, assuming she must be weak since she is a woman. But Alicia is prepared to show them exactly who they're dealing with. She remains perfectly still as the bandit strikes her left hand, intentionally taking the blow from his sword. His blade becomes lodged in her arm, and Alicia immediately knocks him away with a punch. The bandit's eye patch flies off as well, and she decides to snatch it along with his sword. She puts on the eye patch and asks Clev if she should just kill these bastards, saying it would be incredibly easy. Meanwhile, Clev is occupied with carrying Luna back to his cradle. He reassures the baby that Alicia will be fine, since she was the first human who ever managed to scratch his horn. He then decides to persuade Nell to join him while Alicia deals with the bandits. At the same time, Nell reaches the bar, where Carmel is waiting for her. Carmel scolds her for taking so long to please the two men, but Nell explains that she was feeding the baby. Hearing that calms Carmel slightly, and she tells her to return to cleaning, but then notices Nell is in an unusually cheerful mood. Carmel asks if something pleasant happened earlier, but Nell simply asks her to tell her about the outside world in exchange. Carmel's mood instantly sours at the request, and she says she has no good memories of the outside world. She then asks why Nell is so interested, and Nell answers that someone asked her to leave this place with him, something Vrock overhears as he passes by. Carmel is stunned to hear this as well and slaps Nell before telling her to come to her senses. She insists that they cannot leave this place because this is the lowest point they can fall to. But then Vrock steps in, saying he wants to hear more about what Nell was talking about. He asks her to come with him, and Carmel panics when she realizes what he intends, but she cannot interfere or she'll put herself in danger. Once the room is empty, Carmel throws a fit, wondering how they are supposed to feed the babies without Nell. Just then, Clev enters with Luna, and when she sees him, Carmel tells him they can't get any more milk because Nell is gone for good. Clev grows curious and uses his intimidating gaze to force her to reveal everything. Meanwhile, Vrock leads Nell down a narrow tunnel, and she panics when she sees a skull on the ground, though Vrock tells her it's just a rat's skull and then blows out the candle. Nell is terrified of the darkness, and when he lights the candle again, his pet troll is standing right behind her. Her mind goes blank as she stares at the drooling creature, and Vrock explains that before he became a bandit, he was a researcher who created a magic drug using argonite to control dark beasts. He commands his troll to eat her because she dared to dream about leaving. Nell tries to run, wondering if things would have been different had she taken Clev's hand earlier. Just then, she sees Clev and Luna ahead of her and apologizes to the child for not being able to feed him again. Clev can only watch as the troll devours Nell whole, and Luna begins crying. Clev tells her there is no need to cry, because the cycle of life is to eat and be eaten. He blames himself for not arriving sooner and allowing Nell to die, but decides to focus on more urgent matters. He turns to the enslaved troll and asks why it obeys a mere human. Vrock is surprised that the child speaks to his troll so boldly, but assumes it doesn't matter. He orders the troll to eat the boy, but to his shock, the troll freezes completely in fear. It suddenly stomps the ground and vomits the injured Nell due to panic, and Clev realizes she is barely alive. He quickly uses his abilities to neutralize the troll's stomach acid and places Luna beside Nell. He tells Luna to comfort the dying woman because only a baby can do that. Luna doesn't seem to understand, but Clev sends them both to safety. Meanwhile, Vrock tries to figure out what's wrong with the troll and how it could fear a mere boy. When he turns around, he is stunned to find Nell gone, but Clev is still there glaring at him. Vrock accuses him of being a magic user, but Clev has no idea what he means. Vrock asserts that no young magician can defeat a veteran like him, claiming it was his generation that established the origins of magic. He decides to demonstrate his true skill and pulls out a test tube filled with red powder. He explains that he made this powder using aronite, various medicinal herbs, and crushed fly larvae, allowing him to control female trolls at will. He sprinkles some of it into the lantern, creating thick red smoke that instantly erases the troll's fear and forces it to attack Clev, who is also shaken by the strange fumes. He tries to fight back, but the troll is faster and far stronger than his human body. It smashes him to the ground, and as Clev rises again, he curses Alicia for not telling him about this human technology called magic. Meanwhile, Alicia is battling the bandits, but she's exhausted because they keep coming at her without rest. One of them strikes her with a massive hammer, shattering her sword and breaking her bones. Yet Alicia stands up again. She realizes she needs a much better weapon to face the bandits, and the only one suitable is the lost blade of the legendary hero. Alicia runs toward the lake to retrieve it, but she knows the monstrous fish will devour her instantly. So she grabs an axe and climbs the scaffolding instead, and the bandits quickly pursue her. They begin climbing up to catch her, but Alicia was waiting exactly for this moment. She throws the axe at the rope supporting the scaffolding, and the whole structure collapses. The bandits fall into the lake and are immediately eaten by the monsters below, while Alicia hides inside a barrel, quietly sinking to the bottom where the legendary sword rests. However, holding her breath until she reaches the bottom is much harder than she anticipated, and she soon feels intense pain and crushing pressure, something she had already considered when she jumped in. Her senses begin to fade and her body screams for oxygen. She knows she won't die, even if she suffocates here, but resisting her body's instinct to swim upward takes immense effort. After several minutes, she finally hits the bottom and rolls out of the barrel. She spots the red glow of the magic sword in the distance and immediately swims toward it, even though her body feels unbearably heavy. Alicia knows that once she obtains the sword, she'll gain far more power and escaping the lake will become simple. But just as she reaches out to grab it, a huge red eye appears before her. Only then does Alicia realize she isn't on the lake floor at all, she's actually standing on a gigantic monster that has become aware of her presence. The creature rises, throwing her far back with the surge of water. Alicia understands this beast is the reason the legendary hero was defeated here. But she quickly refocuses on the sword and reaches for it again, only for the enormous monster to open its mouth and try to pull her in. Alicia can't fight the current, but she manages to grab the sword just as the monster swallows her. Her arm becomes wedged between its jaws. Then, fueled by flashbacks, she unleashes her full power and forces the monster's jaw apart. Once free, she fixes her gaze on the monster's eye and activates the magic sword's power. She swings it and uses its water manipulation ability to propel herself forward at incredible speed. The colossal monster chases after her, and Alicia still finds it unbelievable that something larger than your mama actually exists. She believes that it has to be one of the ancient beings, dark creatures that have existed for thousands of years. They typically remain asleep in the unreachable regions of the continent. But this one was stirred from its slumber when humans created an arcanite mine in this area. While considering this, she approaches the surface. However, the smaller monsters there detect her as well. Alicia understands that she must get oxygen if she wants any chance of winning. But the monster fish are positioned directly above her. She launches herself upward with a sword swing and cuts through a monster before leaping out of the water. The bandits are stunned to see her still alive, but just as Alicia tries to regain her breath, the enormous monster rises out of the water too. The bandits lose their sanity upon seeing it, and the monster begins attacking everyone with its tentacles. Alicia is forced only to evade and pull back because her strikes barely scratch the giant creature. She acknowledges that a single hero cannot defeat an ancient one. Fortunately, it slaughters and devours all the bandits. Whatever remains turns into a snack for the monster fish, and Alicia thinks her mission is finally complete. Suddenly, she hears Clev's voice and attempts to locate him, but he tells her that they are communicating through telepathy. He says he cannot see clearly, but based on all the blood around, he is certain she completed her mission. Alicia starts shouting at him because he should have helped after seeing how much she was struggling. But Clev tells her that he is dealing with his own problems at the moment. Alicia cannot grasp what could trouble a demon lord, and Clev explains that he is facing a technique he has never encountered before and that his human body is weaker than he expected. He says she hid the existence of magic from him and that once she returns, he will punish her properly. However, he has already defeated the brainwashed troll and is simply farming aura now. Meanwhile, Brock runs for his life, believing that Clev is an incredible magician who beat his pet troll in a single strike. Suddenly, he comes across Nell's dead body with Luna crying beside it. Seeing the child inspires him with a desperate idea to win. Meanwhile, Alicia rushes to Clev after receiving his orders and instantly notices the strange smoke filling the air. Clev also spots the sword she has wrapped in a cloth, and she tells him she refuses to throw it away because she risked her life to obtain it. Clev does not care much about the sword, as he is more uneasy about the crimson smoke. He tells Alicia that it does not seem to affect ordinary animals or humans, but it severely disrupts his senses as a demon lord. He cannot smell anything, his ears are ringing, and he hates the sensation. He says he could blow it all away by transforming into his true form, but he cannot take that risk without knowing where Luna is. Alicia panics after learning Luna is not with Clev, but he tells her that the child cannot be far. He then asks her about magic, and Alicia explains that only some people use it by drawing out the hidden power inside Aeronite. She says she cannot use magic even though she understands it a bit, and Clev calls her useless. Alicia is offended and begins cursing him, but Clev decides to search for Luna and Nell, thinking there is a chance they are dead. A chill runs through Alicia when she hears this, and she asks Clev what he will do if Luna has died. He answers coldly that he will lose all interest in humanity, and Alicia understands that this would be the worst possible outcome. She chooses to find Luna as quickly as she can to prevent humanity from facing Clev's wrath. Soon, she discovers a trail of blood. She asks Clev if Nell was bleeding, and he confirms it. Alicia says that either she is crawling or being dragged, but she cannot get far either way, so they must hurry. As it happens, Nell is still alive and is clinging desperately to Vrock, using every ounce of her strength to protect Luna even as she is dying. He curses and kicks her, demanding that she let go. But Nell refuses to release him. Brock wants to rid himself of her and escape with Luna because when he earlier tried to take the child, Luna cried and the sound caused his magic lantern to explode. Brock realized that Luna possessed an exceptional talent for magic and was a pure-blooded him, meaning he might belong to the royal family. He decides to sever Nell's wrist to free himself. But at that moment, Alicia arrives and orders him to stop. Vrock panics and asks what became of the men who were with her. Clev answers that they became food for the dark beasts. Vrock becomes even more terrified, but he still threatens Alicia and Clev, warning them to stay back or he will cut off Luna's fingers. Clev dares him to proceed because he can heal the injuries with his powers, but Alicia tells him that he cannot reverse the trauma the child will endure. She asks him to let her manage the negotiation alone, then reveals that she holds the magic weapon of the legendary hero. Brock cannot believe what he sees, but Alicia throws it toward the wall behind him, telling him to take it. She says he must use both hands to pull the sword out. But if he leaves Luna on the ground, she will allow him to take it with him. However, Brock just starts laughing because he believes no hero would abandon a magical weapon for a mere baby. He becomes convinced that Luna carries royal blood, and that changes his plan. He demands that Alicia reveal the location of the 13 weapons belonging to her and her allies if she wants the child. And Clev tells her to reveal it because they are only weapons. Alicia says that the weapons are at the bottom of the valley beneath the Luna Mountains, but he must retrieve them himself. Brock laughs, saying he can easily obtain those weapons alone because he knows more than one kind of magic. He suddenly releases a black powder into the air and lightly strikes Luna, making him cry and activate his magic instinctively. With Luna's power, the black powder triggers Brock's invisibility spell, causing him to disappear completely. He begins walking away, certain that Alicia and Clev cannot see him. But suddenly, Alicia appears in front of him and slices him in two. Brock cannot comprehend how she located him, and she explains that even though he turned invisible and muted his sounds, she could still hear Luna crying. Meanwhile, Clev retrieves Luna and brushes the invisibility powder off his body. Alicia decides to let Brock's corpse remain invisible, then realizes that Luna survived only because Nell protected him with all she had. She asks Clev if he cannot save her. He answers that he can only control one zombie puppet at a time, and Nell has lost too much of her body to regenerate through his abilities. He says they would need to obtain those missing parts elsewhere, but it would be easier if they simply let her die. Alicia snaps at this, demanding how he can let the woman who saved his child die. She says that if she were a mother, she would completely trust someone like Nell with her child. Hearing her words, Clev chooses to save Nell. However, he tells Alicia that she must die while he saves her because he needs all the mana he placed inside her body. Alicia tells him she does not care about dying for others because she is a hero, and Clev immediately ends her life. Shortly afterward, Nell wakes up shocked that she is still alive. But even more astonishing is that Clev completely rebuilt her body while healing her. Nell asks if he saved her, and he confirms it, saying she should thank the hero for it. He says that it took quite some time to heal Nell, and during that period Alicia's body began to decay. But now that he has restored his mana inside her, she will regain consciousness at any moment. A few seconds later, Alicia snaps awake with her usual breakdance-like movements, and the very first thing she searches for is her sword. Clev tells Nell that she has been reborn and that her new name is Nelu. He gives Luna to her, saying that from this point on she will travel with them, and Nell is more than happy to accept his offer this time. The following day, Clev chooses to confiscate Alicia's magic sword, explaining that it attracts far too much attention. His shadow engulfs the sword, leaving Alicia devastated, but he reminds her that he will return it when necessary, so she should be grateful he is not simply discarding it. At that moment, Nell appears and tells Clev that he uses some very unusual spells. He asks if she has packed everything they will need for the journey, and she cheerfully shows him that she prepared everything and even bought new clothes for Luna. Alicia is surprised and asks Nell whether the luggage is too heavy for her, but the girl replies that it is actually very light. Alicia starts wondering if Clev replaced parts of Nell's body with those of the bandits to give her greater strength. Suddenly, Nell adds that she can carry Alicia's sword and armor as well if she wants. But Alicia tells her she no longer has her sword. Nell remembers Carmel mentioning that Brock kept a lot of valuable items in his desk, and Alicia immediately begs Clev to let her take at least one sword. He agrees, saying that she is practically useless without a weapon, and Alicia sprints straight to the bandit leader's office. Meanwhile, Clev and Nell walk toward the gate, and he asks if she feels nostalgic about leaving this place. Nell replies that she has no pleasant memories here, but since she lived with her mother in this place, seeing it empty makes her a little sad. She says Carmel is the only person she wants to see before leaving, but doing so would look too suspicious in her current form. Clev becomes curious about Carmel when suddenly a man jumps down at him from the sky, claiming he has found the guy who uses strange magic. Meanwhile, Alicia reaches Brock's office and starts rummaging through his desk. She takes his money and then discovers a kinky-looking leather armor set lying on top. She is disgusted thinking about everything that armor may have been through, but it will still protect her in battle. So she puts it on before searching for a decent sword. However, just as she prepares to return, Clev crashes straight through the wall beside her. Alicia panics at the sight and demands to know what is going on, but he can only curse the fragility of his current body. Right then, the attacker arrives, and Alicia instantly realizes he is quite strong. She braces herself for combat, but he strikes first. She dodges his kick completely yet still ends up cut on her face, making her understand he isn't ordinary. The man also notices her strength, so he keeps kicking her from midair, pushing her backward. That alone isn't enough to defeat Alicia. So he creates some distance before unleashing a powerful sonic blow that sends her flying through the roof. He steps outside to finish her but warns that he only cares about the magician. He promises to spare her if she stops right now, but this infuriates Alicia because she is a hero and refuses to be underestimated. She decides to use her special move and asks Clev for the magic sword. She forcefully empties her mind, directing all her intelligence points toward attack instead. Her sword loses its solidity and becomes flexible, and the man cannot react in time as Alicia charges toward him at great speed. However, just as she is about to slice his jaw open, one command from Clev halts her. Still stuck in her mindless state, Alicia is snapped out of it when Clev lightly smacks her head. He then tells her that going brainless to attack this opponent would have been her single worst mistake because right before she struck him, his kick would have torn her apart. Alicia realizes this only now, and Clev explains that they are not enemies and that the man attacked them due to a misunderstanding. The man also calms down somewhat and tells Clev to clear things up quickly if he values his life. He still doesn't trust them and comments that Nell reeks like a mountain troll, and she explains that it is probably because she was swallowed by one. The attacker then states that he heard about a magician controlling a mountain troll with magic, so he came to confront him. But when he arrived, he found the troll dead with its body parts missing and assumed that Clev was the magician who killed it after failing to control it. Clev now understands what happened, and he sends Nell and Luna to safety right away. Alicia asks if she should go guard them, but Clev wants her to stay because the man before them is actually a dark beast in disguise. She is shocked by this, and Clev adds that the illusion magic on him is so strong that even he cannot see his true form, and the only one who can is the Western Demon Lord, Zephyr. Alicia panics at this, and Clev then says that Zephyr and he do not get along very well. The man asks how he knows all this, and Clev pretends to be a servant of the demon Lord Clevitus because he does not want anyone to learn his true identity. The man believes him and says that even though their masters are not on friendly terms, they still share the same objective. He then transforms into a massive demon bird and introduces himself as Gart, a servant of the Western Demon Lord. He has heard that Clevitus recently destroyed a human kingdom, and even Zephyr is preparing a major assault on humans. He asks Clev to show proof that he is a dark beast, and Clev reveals one of his tentacles. Gart is satisfied and returns to his human form, stating they have no reason to fight anymore. However, Alicia is having a silent panic attack because now Clev is no longer the only dark beast capable of turning into a human and speaking like one, and she fears humanity is doomed if more exist. Clev tells her to stop overthinking because only a few high-level dark beasts can speak like humans, and they will not involve themselves with humans without a strong reason. Gart agrees and explains that this is why he wants to know why Clev is traveling with a hero, who is naturally an enemy of demons. Clev tells him that while Alicia may be a hero, she is currently his servant and cannot ignore his commands. He states that his mission is to study humanoid species, and Alicia, Luna, and Nell are tools that help him do that. He refuses to share any further details. Gart accepts this but warns that if anyone obstructs him, he will kill them, even if they are Clev's servants. Clev tells him he would fail and then asks why he is here and why Zephyr plans to attack humans when she actually has the best reputation with them. She enjoys observing humans and is even worshipped as a deity by the ogres living there, so she shouldn't have any reason to turn hostile. Gart explains that 3 days ago, while patrolling the western forests, he encountered dark beasts searching for their missing children. He found a potion vial that only humans could have left behind and immediately brought it to Zephyr, telling her that many young dark beasts had gone missing recently and humans were likely responsible. Zephyr became furious and ordered him to investigate personally, because if humans were truly behind the kidnappings, they would need to be wiped out. Clev is surprised that Zephyr discovered this before he did, and he tells Gart that the situation might be even more serious than that. He says that he recently spoke with a human woman, and by speaking he actually means frightening Carmel until she gave him every answer he wanted. She told him that the women here are not meant to give birth, and if any of them ever do, terrifying men in black robes arrive to purchase the babies, talking about talent and similar things. It turns out that Nell's children were not stillborn, and Carmel killed them so they wouldn't be sold and forced to endure something far worse. She admitted this when Clev questioned her and explained that she had no choice but to shield Nell from witnessing the trauma of her child being taken away. However, Clev simply reminded her that Mel grew up here, which meant her mother hid her and protected her the entire time, and that Carmel and the others never even attempted to do the same in the first place. When he finishes telling the story, Clev informs Garth that the abductions of dark beasts and the suspicious dealings happening here must be connected, and he strongly suspects that magic is what ties them together. Alicia reacts with disgust when she hears this, and Clev asks what she is thinking. She tells him that even though she lacks deep knowledge about magic, she knows about wizards who use magic as a weapon. Right now, the power of wizards determines the outcomes of wars. And the first one to bring them onto a battlefield was General Drell of the Bolate army, who is also the bastard who killed her father. Clev is disappointed that Alicia came to kill him instead of the man who murdered her dad, and she explains that it was her father's final wish. At the same time, Drell is leading a massive army and a gigantic dark beast to seize Haydn, which now has no king. And the ones standing in his path are the soldiers of the other human nation. Unfortunately, they are severely disadvantaged because they lack enough soldiers and wizards. Their captain, Rod, understands they can't even hold off Dell until their main forces arrive. He knows that Dell is targeting the Hybnian Royal Forge, which is the only place in the world where magic swords can be forged, and it is also the oldest magic artifact in existence. He fears that if Drell and the Bolate Kingdom seize it, their magic technology will become even more terrifying than it already is. And he hopes that the Essen Kingdom can work together with Haydn to stop them. However, it is already too late because Maynard, the most powerful wizard in the Bolate army, has infiltrated Haydn while Drell fights outside. He has already killed all the guards at the gate and opened it to allow Drell and his troops inside. He tells him that he has confirmed the king's death and that the crown princess is safe but out of their grasp. However, the issue is that the 6-month-old prince has been missing since the capital was destroyed, and that child is the only one with a confirmed pure Haedian bloodline. Maynard tells Drell that his ravens reported the prince being taken by a black-haired boy and that they recently spotted a similar duo heading north. Drell is impressed with his intelligence-gathering skills and orders him to locate the prince and bring him to him by the time he conquers the capital of Hien. Meanwhile, Clev and his group are slowly making their way toward Haydn as well. On the road, Nell serves him coffee and tells him it is a luxury drink that Rock occasionally enjoyed. Clev finds the concept of turning random beans into a drink quite unbelievable. But he takes a sip anyway, instantly burning his tongue. While he curses his fragile body again, Luna begins reaching toward the coffee cup, and Clev moves it out of his reach. At that moment, Nell asks what happened to the frightening man who attacked them, and Clev replies that he flew away to report what he discovered about magic and wizards. He then takes another sip of the coffee and this time can appreciate its unusual taste. Right then, Alicia returns from a nearby town, saying she talked to the merchants and, as she expected, Hien is in a dreadful condition right now. She takes out a map and tells Clev that the Bolate Kingdom has invaded Hien, which cannot defend itself properly without a king to command them. The Essen Kingdom tried to stop Bolate at the border, but they weren't able to do much either. Clev wonders why the Lin Kingdom would get involved when the conflict doesn't concern them. And Alicia explains that the two kingdoms have been enemies for ages, and at the moment Lin is weaker than Bolate. That is why they don't want to lose the Haydn Forge to Bolate and let them gain even more power. Alicia says that even if Hien still possesses the forge in working condition, they lack the knowledge to use it because the royal family hoarded the information. On top of that, Haydn doesn't have any wizards who can study or operate the forge because the king of Hien banned magic in his territory. Just then, Nell hands Alicia a cup of coffee, leaving her surprised because she has never had it before. She thanks Nell, who then takes Luna away to feed him. Alicia abruptly begins praising Nell, commenting on how thoughtful and caring she is. Clev asks her if she swings in that direction, and she spits out her coffee, telling him to shut up. She quickly shifts back to discussing Haydn and asks Clev what he intends to do about it. She reminds him that he planned to make Luna the king. But if Bolate conquers Hyen, that will no longer be possible. Moreover, the Bolate kingdom will undoubtedly try to capture Luna because his royal blood contains the secrets to refining Aeronite. Alicia says that General Drell, the commander of the Bolate army, is a merciless man who will absolutely order the entire army to search for Luna. She becomes furious as she tells Clev that her father was a master swordsman who had retired to live peacefully in secret. But Drell went out of his way to find and kill him. She remembers the day Drell fought and murdered her father just to test how strong his magic had become. She asked him how he could kill someone merely to measure his strength, and he unleashed a devastating attack with his magic sword, destroying their house, telling her that he seeks true strength and nothing else. He walked away afterward, and Alicia attempted to attack him for revenge. But her father stopped her. He told her that Drell was a warmonger and that if she fought him, she would be dragged into a war, which was the complete opposite of what a hero should do. He asked her never to fight Drell and instead devote her life to becoming the hero who would expand the world for humanity. When she finishes recounting this story, Alicia tells Clev that if he wants Luna to become king, he must drive Drell and his army out of Hyen. He is already troubled by the idea of protecting the very country he intended to destroy, but he decides to do it anyway. Alicia chooses to go with him, but Clev tells her to stay behind to protect Luna and Nell because he plans to confront the Bolate army in his real form, and he does not want them to know he is connected to humans. He plans to use the kidnapping of dark beasts as the excuse to face Drell and his wizards and see exactly how powerful they are. Additionally, he reminds Alicia that she is still bound by her father's final words forbidding her from fighting Drell. Alicia answers that he only said she shouldn't get involved in war because it contradicted what heroes stand for. But she no longer considers herself a hero now. She is just a zombie running on the Demon Lord's mana, and she feels it is right for her to avenge her father now. Hearing this, Clev abruptly hits her with the real question, asking her what it even means to be a hero. He asks her why she became one, and Alicia says she wanted to make the world a larger place. Clev tells her that Mel's world is bigger now because of her, which means she is still fulfilling her role as a hero. He then walks into the woods, and Alicia takes a moment to recover from his words before telling him to be careful. Clev reminds her that she is speaking to a demon lord and suddenly transforms into his true form, creating a powerful gust of wind. He then races through the forest and climbs a local hill just to gather aura. Meanwhile, the Bolate army destroys Hyen's second fortress. Moving closer to the capital, Rod, a captain of the Elson army, watches from afar and decides he can't wait for reinforcements any longer. He informs his men that they will confront the Bolate army near the shallow river located a few miles ahead. And at that very moment, a lone soldier from the Hyen kingdom is also watching them closely. Meanwhile, Alicia and Nell walk into the town, where they witness several locals beating a bandit who had escaped the base before the giant monster destroyed it. When Nell notices the bandit, she begins shaking in fear. So Alicia assures her that nobody will recognize her anymore. She pulls her away from the scene, and the bandit catches a glimpse of Alicia, telling the locals that she is the hero who unleashed the monster upon them. However, Alicia disappears behind the corner before anyone can turn around, and the townspeople decide to hang the bandit just like the others of his kind who were unfortunate enough to wander into their town. The locals are already on edge because of the series of terrible news they have heard recently, and they are determined to defend their homes themselves even if their nation collapses. Alicia is also quite worried seeing them so hyper-alert, and she asks Nell not to call her a hero while they are in town because the locals may turn hostile toward her too. After that, they enter an inn, and two large men block their path, demanding to know who they are. They instantly assume Alicia is a bandit because of her outfit. But right then, their mother appears and tells them to stop yelling because they will wake the baby. The woman introduces herself as Curry, and with a single glance she can tell that Luna is a pure-blood Hyen, which is very rare in distant regions of the kingdom like their town. She doesn't completely trust Alicia either and asks her to explain what she is doing with a pure-blood baby here, warning that if she doesn't like the answer, she will unleash her sons on her. Alicia immediately tells her that she and Nell are acting as guards for an important individual and that their current mission is to keep the child safe.
The woman is convinced by her explanation and decides to let her stay because she assumes that anyone carrying a pure-blood baby must have ties to nobility and possess a decent amount of money. Alicia quickly reserves a room for two, but the two men still tell her that they don't trust her. Curry kicks both of them, saying this is exactly why they don't have a girlfriend. She orders them to help the girls carry their luggage, and they instantly turn into simps, eager to relieve Nell of the weight she is carrying. However, it takes both of them to somehow haul the luggage up to the room, and they wonder what could possibly be inside it. Carrie also comes to the room to ask Alicia if she is satisfied, then talks about how the king once gifted their town iron beds because some carpenters from here made chairs for the palace. She grows nostalgic thinking about those times, since now the king is dead and war is approaching. After she leaves, Alicia and Nell decide to relax, unaware that a bug controlled by Maynard, the strongest wizard in the Bullade army, has spotted them. Maynard is pleased that he has already found his target, and he sends a swarm of insects to capture Luna. Meanwhile, Nell calls Alicia over to show that Luna has just grown his first teeth. As they gush over how adorable he looks, Carrie arrives to tell them that dinner is ready. Alicia chooses to bring it up to the room. And when she goes downstairs, she sees a huge crowd discussing the current situation of their kingdom. They blame the heroes for failing to kill the demon lord, which led to the destruction of their capital, and now enemy nations are trying to seize their land. Alicia silently listens to all that slander and accepts that this is how the public views heroes. She decides to ignore it and return to her room when she senses a dark beast approaching the area. Suddenly, a small red ball bursts through the inn's window, and one of Carrie's sons goes to check what it is. Alicia shouts at him not to touch it, but she is too late because as soon as he lightly taps the ball, it expands and turns into a giant centipede. The men are all stunned by this, and then Maynard appears, telling them that this isn't an ordinary centipede, but one that lives in the land of dark beasts and rivals them in strength. He warns everyone not to move if they value their lives, because being an insect, the centipede will attack if it sees suspicious movement. Alicia tries to reach for her sword, only to remember that she left it upstairs. Meanwhile, a terrified man decides to jump out the window because he is afraid of bugs. Unfortunately, the sky above the town is swarming with even larger monstrous insects, and he becomes their food almost instantly. Maynard informs everyone in the inn that he has surrounded the entire town so that none of them can escape, but if they cooperate, he won't harm them. He then introduces himself as the highest-ranked wizard of the Bullade army, which fills everyone with panic. He announces that he is here to confirm whether the pure-blood High-End baby has royal blood in his veins. And Alicia wonders what she should do now. Suddenly, she hears Nell screaming as she is attacked by another wizard working under Maynard, who pins her to the wall using magnetic magic in order to steal Luna. But that is where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.